Okay, boss, it looks like that sniper assassin you took down a while back isn't talking. For now, we've got her contained on the medical platform. Well, kinda. I mean, she can teleport and all, so it's mostly just for show. I guess I'm just giving you a heads up with a quick reminder to watch your back just in case she makes an escape attempt or tries to murder you again.
Finally, we get to play the incredible Metal Gear Solid 5. I really hope it holds up to the series' legacy, but I've got this sinking feeling that it's gonna have the opposite problems of the past entries, overcompensating for Metal Gear Solid 4 and Peace Walker. How do you expect me to take your character seriously when you're dressed like a horny sea lion? Hey, I breathe through my skin! That means showers and rain should drown you! But, naked women with big guns! Why do I get the feeling this game's desperate to grab my attention? Oh man, this is the best Metal Gear Solid gameplay by a mile! The controls are the smoothest and sharpest I've ever played in any action, stealth, or third-person shooter game, and the massive open world so full of life, danger, and side missions never gets old to explore. This was the first Metal Gear Solid game I played where the gameplay itself was so well designed, entertaining, and challenging enough for me to want to 100% the entire game, obtaining every S rank, side quest, collectible, mission challenge, and achievement. Plus, it's by far the longest game yet with over 200 hours clocked in my copy so far. Goodbye, weird ration system and other outdated mechanics, and say hello to full-blown running, diving, crawling, crouch walking, reflex mode, weapon customization, and base and recruit management. A transition to open world probably sounds odd for Metal Gear, and with only 2 maps outside of Mother Base, Afghanistan being massive but a little barren in places, and Africa having the opposite problem doesn't help. But it still works surprisingly well for reimagining the stealth gameplay in a massive environment. Honestly, the open world only got in the way the more lazy I got for not just calling the chopper or stealing one of the dozens of vehicles with the keys left in the ignition. You'd think they'd learn to stop doing that after a while. You're always infiltrating enemy strongholds or organically maneuvering around bases and outposts between missions, so there's always something to do. Peace Walker style missions are back, but since this game isn't running on a glorified Game Boy anymore, virtually all of my former complaints were resolved. Now, it's simply a formal way to document and replay missions or story segments on command, and doesn't awkwardly segment the story or suspension of disbelief like it used to. There's even plenty of enemy variety here, and interesting gameplay scenarios to be had across the 50 story missions and over 150 side missions the game offers. Plus, the new colossal Metal Gear Sahelanthropus is terrifying and imposing and a true thrill to encounter. Though Peace Walker had much more mech variety, this only builds more tension and fear with the one and only Sahelanthropus itself. But I cannot overstate enough how incredible the much-needed gameplay focus was for Metal Gear Solid 5. Everything from the stealth to the combat, the customization and base management is all meticulously crafted and is perfectly fine-tuned. Although additional FOB acquisition can get inexcusably grindy with microtransaction alternatives, you'll never actually need any of that to 100% the game. Unless you're after developing absolutely everything the game offers, you'll have no need for any of those scummy money-grubbing time savers. One FOB is enough for me. By the power of Nestor, the horse, we shall overcome! Pink horse, represent! At least Nestor can poop on command. Quiet can't even do that. This game looks fantastic on PC, PS4, and even the PS3. Its characters, environments, cinematics, and UI all look stunning, keeping up with the established high-quality standards for the saga. The graphical fidelity is so good, stealth actually takes on a whole new level of immersion. You can spot and mark guards from a mile away, and they're just as perceptive as you would expect actual people to be, so you need to be very careful. Seriously, this game looks so good, it makes old farts like me simply soak in the amazement of how far video games have come to make something like this even happen, and it's like 6 years old by now. Though I'm not sure if I like the super advanced 80s technology that we still don't even have today. But Metal Gear has always had secret advanced tech in the past games. It just feels a little jolting seeing a perfectly responsive prosthetic robo-arm and hologram projecting cell phone after the generally faithful MGS3. I'm also glad we got some crazy supernaturally characters like the Man on Fire, but would have preferred a few more colorful characters like the original Foxhound unit, but still, this is much better than Peace Walker. I would also complain about Quiet, but I realized I don't really care about how the characters look as long as they're actually written well enough to make them compelling. And that's my problem with this game's characters. Wait, what? That's right, I'm gonna rain all over this wet jiggly parade. We're gonna avoid talking about any of the major spoilers this time, and though there's plenty we'd like to discuss in depth, we think it's more important that we cover the main talking points for everybody else, considering the peculiar nature of the story this time around. But if you do want all of the story in depth, you can just check out our complete Let's Play, shameless plug. So after Ground Zero, oh wait a minute, we never actually covered Ground Zeroes. Basically, Big Boss went on a solo stealth mission to save Paz and Chico from the rogue secret force XOF, which ended up being a huge failure, resulting in the deaths of pretty much all of MSF, including Paz and Chico. However, Boss, Miller, and a few others barely survive a helicopter crash. Basically so we can start Phantom Pain with a clean slate, which you can also watch in our complete Ground Zeroes Let's Play, shameless plug. After waking up from a 9-year coma, Big Boss recovers and regroups with Miller with the help of Revolver Ocelot, seeking vengeance against XOF and hunting down its elusive leader, Skullface. That alone takes an obscenely long time to accomplish, and that will be the majority of the 50-hour main campaign that you're playing, culminating in virtually zero character development whatsoever or impactful, shocking traditional Metal Gear plot twists. This game's story is extremely bare bones. Boss hardly speaks. Miller is blinded by revenge the entire way through. Ocelot is just here to be here, and don't even get me started on Skullface. There's this hilarious scene where Skullface straight up runs out of things to say during a long car ride after his ironically short-sighted, outrageous evil villain exposition dump, and he and Boss just awkwardly stare at each other's eyes for an uncomfortably long time. Your plan's dumb, and so are you. Once you finally stop Skullface, XOF, and his Metal Gear, the game surprises you after the credits with the biggest bombshell it could have ever possibly dropped. End of Chapter 1. Wait, what? This massive game is only just beginning? Yeah, so that was a freaking lie. To be fair, there is a Chapter 2, and it actually has some really cool story missions and surprises, and pretty much the only character development in the entire game, finally giving some depth to Quiet, Huey, Code Talker, and Boss himself. But it is substantially shorter than Chapter 1, even going so far as to reusing past missions for players to mandatorily recomplete with new challenging stipulations to keep progressing the main story. And after that, there is no Chapter 3. That's it! Yeah, this was gonna come up eventually. Metal Gear Solid 5 was famously left unfinished, with Konami and Hideo Kojima having a massive falling out during development. The story was obviously far more ambitious than what ended up getting published. At the very end of Chapter 2, which let me remind you is substantially shorter than Chapter 1, you will get hours of info bomb cassette tapes to listen to, with what seems like hours of unfinished cutscenes with the voice acting simply getting reused so we could somehow find out about where the story was heading, after what became the very end of the game. It just feels like opening up all your Christmas presents too early and feeling awful about spoiling the surprise preemptively. I feel terrible saying that some of the coolest story moments of this game happen at the very end, during hour-long audio cassette tapes. There are a small handful of cool plot twists and surprises for players who made it this far, and as promised, we won't spoil any of them, but what's even more painful than the cassette tape info drop is the fact that the actual main story we got doesn't even resolve. Yeah. So dancing around the details, a true final boss battle taking place on a third map, wrapping up the story of several abandoned yet massive plot threads, got cut from the game. And no matter how you look at it, that just sucks. And considering how underwhelming Chapter 1 was, that just makes the sucky suck all the suckier. Hey, at least the music in this game is pretty darn great. And plus with some fun 80s cassette tape tracks to collect and listen to on your espionage escapades. Can you stop? Should we mention how David Hayter got replaced by Kiefer Sutherland to voice Snake? Who cares, he barely ever speaks anyway. If you think the story alone is what makes a good game, then Metal Gear Solid 5's incredible gameplay will change your mind. Unless the story is the only reason you're playing it. Oh, but the gameplay is really good! Yeah, that's totally the reason people play Metal Gear. The positive gamer in me had an outstanding time with Metal Gear Solid 5, ranking it with a 9 out of 10. Though the gameplay and graphics are outstanding, offering hundreds of hours of enjoyment, I can't in good conscience give out a 10 out of 10 for an incomplete and unsatisfying story experience, especially in a Metal Gear Solid game. The critical gamer in me struggles with redeeming Metal Gear Solid 5, being released with great gameplay and an inexcusably unfinished story, landing on a solid 7 out of 10. Though still an outstanding game, it's ironically the sequel we didn't need, cut painfully short, accidentally ending its own saga's campaign with a cinematic dud. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Metal Gear Solid 5 in the comments below. But hey, if you're gonna complain about Metal Gear Solid 4's overly involved and borderline invasive story, and then have the nerve to complain about 5's abysmal lack thereof, then you're just playing with yourself. Special thanks this week go to Kim for my, costume, for making us this wonderful pink horse logo with Puppy Lupper, and for lending me her ginormous gun thing. Bonus points if you can tell what it's even from. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to like the videos and subscribe for more, and use the links in the description to nominate future episodes. Thank you to our Patreon members, Atomic Thomas, Cameron, Arrow, Ben, Rowan, Erica, Cheyenne, Squad Fam, Sid, and Eddie. See ya.